Hi guys. The resin that I poured for the stream is fully cured now, and whilst it fills in the pools along the stream bed, it's quite shallow everywhere else. So I'm going to try and finish it off. There are plenty of techniques and materials modelers use for building water up like this, and I have chosen to give Mod Podge a go. This is an artist gloss medium, which goes on fairly thick and dries clear. However, it does need time to cure to lose the white finish, and I'm going to do multiple thinner layers to try and get around that. So this is the second coat of Mod Podge going on. You can see how the first layer is still slightly cloudy to the right of where I'm working, but this will hopefully continue to fade. This time I'm putting a thicker coat on, and it'll get left for a couple of days to cure. I'm also not really trying to add surface texture at this point, as that will be done with a different product. One thing to note down at the layout edge. There's a tiny waterfall just under the bridge, so I'm going to add cotton wool in tiny clumps to try and build up some texture within the Mod Podge coats. I'm touching the cotton wool as little as possible because it'll lose its fluffy texture. So the Mod Podge is touch dry now, so I'm going to turn my attention to the shrubbery that surrounds the stream. I start with a layer of PVA, and then begin to build up the body of the plants with polyfibre. I don't have the bag for this, but I think it's a Woodland Scenics product. I tear this into clumps and glue it on, rather than just a large chunk, to give the impression of different plants. The polyfibre is then coated with a spray glue. The spray glue is really good, but it does have a tendency to get on anything near where you're spraying, so I've protected the stream with kitchen roll. I then start to apply the leaves. These are a product made by Nock, and come in a number of colours. I use the darker one first, which is what I'm adding here. And then to finish it off, I use a lighter green. This gives a nice colour variation, but also acts as highlights on the bushes. You can see how the roots that I put on in last week's video look really nice now the bushes are growing above them. Another plant that has to be added are ferns. You can buy ferns as etched or laser cut paper, but I have my own method. So this is a natural moss that grows in woodland around here. And if you dry it out and cut it into separate parts, it's pretty convincing as a fern. So I add a blob of glue on the layout and plant each frond one by one. This is a bit fiddly, but it does give the option of varying each fern. Whilst the colouring would have worked for dead ferns, this layout is set in late spring, so the ferns will need to be, well, alive. So I use the airbrush to colour them in with a mossy green. You do get a bit of overspray around the ferns, but being an acrylic paint, I can just wipe it with a wet paintbrush. And then rub the paint away with a cotton bud. Back to the stream, and the Mod Podge is nearly fully cured. So I'm moving on to the surface detail. This is a product by Ammo called Acrylic Water. It's thicker than the Mod Podge and holds its shape well. Again, this goes on white but will dry clear, providing you don't add it on too thick. Because this is the final layer of the water, I'm using the paintbrush to stipple the products into choppy waves and ripples. "24 hours later and the acrylic water is pretty much clear as well, and only shows white where it's thicker, but this won't take long to clear up, hopefully. The final thing to finish the water off is painting the white water. I use a light antique white for this, as pure white seems a little too white, especially for choppy stream water, so a creamy white works well. I'm using an old brush with short hard bristles for this, and almost dry brushing the water from above. I tried to apply the paint following a reference photo for a stream with similar water conditions. Obviously there's lots of white water around the little waterfall, but also all the way down the stream. I'm dry brushing water down the waterfall following the water path, and this has given a good impression of fast flowing water. And that's it, the stream's done. I'm pretty happy with how this looks. For a first attempt at water, I'm pretty happy with how this looks. The bridge now looks like it's been built years ago and nature is trying to reclaim it. And also, the light coming through the foliage as you look down the stream gives a really good impression of depth, especially when in reality, the track bed is only a few inches from the water level. So, thanks again for watching, and remember to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the channel. Cheers.